So what my presentation will highlight maybe would be what is unique to AFDB and try to avoid things that are already been mentioned. So we'll basically look at what in AFDB we call the most economic advantageous tender, which is our approach to using rated criteria. You will note that with the Asian Development Bank, they have the merit point criteria, and there could be an additional consideration on top of the most economical advantageous tender. So we'll describe how it is in the AFDB procurement framework when we use it, whether in the one envelope or a single envelope, two envelope approaches, the benefits and challenges, the key considerations that we have when we're using this approach. Then we'll highlight the evaluation process and the scoring formula, and conclude with the weighting guidelines. So rated criteria, as has been highlighted, is about looking at 9 price factors that influence bid evaluation. So it helps any contracting authority to be able to evaluate bids for aspects that require a qualitative approach. Things like technical issues and sustainability aspects, for instance, are normally key candidates when you're trying to use qualitative criteria in the evaluation of bids. And this is because these are aspects that we normally ask people to provide proposals for. Unlike in the pass-fail criteria, where our contracting authority normally lists the characteristics that they desire, and then bidders have to respond to those characteristics the way they have been described. Under rated criteria, bidders are normally requested to provide proposals. They are normally given the option by the contracting authority to propose or to describe what solutions that they have for what the requirements that have been presented to them. And so rated criteria would normally be best suitable for reviewing bids that have been presented in proposal format. So most economically advantageous for tender is one of the approaches that use rated criteria. And this is the one that has been advocated for by AFDB in its guidance notes. So unlike the lowest cost, lowest price approach, at least we try to ensure that the decisions in procurement align to broader social, economic, or environmental objectives, which are becoming critical nowadays in procurement. Recently, we just started discussions on how to deepen the sustainability talking about the circular economy and how to align procurement in areas of circular economy. So the rated criteria will come in useful when trying to evaluate bids using this approach. So AFDB's policy recommends use of rated criteria, basically as a means of promoting sustainability. So, and if you look at our guidance note on rated criteria, it's actually is as part of our guidance note on sustainability. We are yet to separate it because that our policy put it under the bracket of sustainability. The MIT under AFDB is used at the borrower's discretion. So unlike the other MDBs that have mandated it to a greater extent, for AFDB, it's still discretionary on the borrower. And the reason we have for this is that there are still many procurements within our scope that are best evaluated on a pass-fail basis. And it would be difficult to mandate rated criteria where clearly it is not possible where it is easily possible to get a reasonably good priced tender using the lowest evaluated bid approach. We are in the process of developing standard bidding documents for use of meat. So far, we have published the one for goods, the 2-envelope system. If you go to our website, you'll be able to see that. We still have work in progress for the bidding document for information systems, for works, as well as for design, supply, and install. Very soon, we might, within the next, say, quarter, we might have the one for information systems approved for publication. It's currently being reviewed for translation and just ensuring that the technical quality in the languages that it will be published on remain consistent across the board. So this one is at a very advanced stage. The other two are still somewhere in between, and I'll highlight the reasons why as we go along. One issue that comes up when we are using rated criteria is, should it be used in a 1-envelope procedure or a 2-envelope procedure? Traditionally, we have tended to recommend its use in a 2-envelope procedure because we would prefer that the evaluation of qualitative aspects are separated from the monetary aspects. So in a 2-envelope procedure, bidders do not have access to the financial info. The evaluators do not have access to financial information when evaluating the technical aspects. And this enhances more the objectivity with which they'll be able to look at the technical proposal. Unlike the 1-envelope system, which we normally recommend when it is very clear that we can have pass-fail criteria and other aspects can be quantified in monetary terms whenever there are discrepancies. Sometimes, of course, we do encounter suggestions to use the 1-envelope procedure with rated criteria. That is, people evaluating the technical aspects using rated criteria and then defaulting to the lowest evaluated bid once that passes the technical score. But as I've indicated again, this tends to lead to bias when assessing the technical aspects because people have already, in a 1-envelope system, people have already looked at the prices, and there could be an element of bias when looking at the technical aspects in this regard. The benefits of the meat approach: one, it encourages innovation. Bidders, since we are asking bidders to contribute their proposals to the employers or purchasers' requirements, then they are encouraged to prepare higher quality and more sustainable solutions for the borrower. So it's a more open system than the pass-fail criteria, where the borrower is at pains to describe in detail what they really want. Here, they simply give performance characteristics, and then it's up to the bidder to propose solutions that would meet those requirements. It can lead to long-term cost efficiency, since normally we tend to use it with other factors such as life cycle costing or the total cost of ownership. So it helps us to prevent short-term cost focus. It also helps us to drive sustainability because one of the criteria that can be introduced in the technical aspects is issues of sustainability, whether it's environmental, social, or economic dimensions of sustainability. This can be introduced in the technical criteria, and bidders can be asked to provide proposals as to how they intend to provide solutions for that. It also helps to ensure fair competition, although this can be a bit controversial. Normally, when one has a very transparent multi-criteria evaluation process that bidders clearly understand, and evaluators also apply consistently across the board, then it can also lead to very fair and reasonable competition. Challenges that one would experience with the meat process, and which you have seen, is that it requires people who are trained in evaluating qualitative aspects. Many people still have challenges evaluating qualitative criteria. And given that the world is now moving from pass-fail, trying to wean off people from that system is a bit challenging. One thing we have seen is people trying to list as many sub-criteria as possible, and then having a single mark or two for each sub-criteria. And that leads to something that looks more like a pass-fail than a rated criteria thing. So it's a very challenging, complex process, and it requires for us to continuously engage with people that are involved in industries, so that we can try and provide the best approaches for evaluating rated criteria. Ensuring objectivity can also be a challenge. Having clear weightings and transparent scoring mechanisms are quite important. But again, given the fact that we are providing ratings, and the ratings basically kind of are based on somebody's opinion on what they are observing from somebody's bid, it can lead to some element of subjectivity. And so how to guide evaluators to make sure that the manner in which they apply the rated criteria is consistent and transparent can be quite a challenge. Then the market readiness, how are our suppliers, contractors ready for this? We know from the consultancy field, for the longest time possible, for consultants, we've been evaluating them based on rated criteria. So they're used to this kind of system. But for suppliers, for goods and works, where we have to move now people to this kind of consideration, they've been used to pass-fail criteria for so long. We need to also, just like with the case of the evaluators that I talked about, we also need to have engagement with them so that they are clear that this is a mechanism that is better suited for the type of procurements that it is being proposed for.
Mohammed was responsible. Philip and Mohammed.
The evaluation process for meat is generally has to be agreed with the bank. So it is the borrower that has to propose it for a particular procurement, and they have to propose which criteria they intend to have used in the bidding document. The merit point scoring system and the evaluation procedure all have to be described in the bidding documents in order to ensure transparency and no bias. The key issue here is that once bids are opened, we expect that since it's a two-envelope system, the financial bids are deposited with an independent entity with no direct access to the evaluators, and that these are only released once the technical evaluation process is complete. Just like our colleague Didier described, we use the same scoring formula for the meat process, where we get the inverse of the financial scores and the technical scores, and combine them into a formula that we use to get the most economic advantageous tender. The technical scores are derived by a summation of the technical score and the respective weight. So once that is obtained is when then we transfer that into the main meat scoring formula. Weighting guidelines, as I indicated earlier, so far we have the bidding document for goods ready. And for us, the consideration is still that for goods, the main issue should still be price. So the factors that we have recommended is that we shouldn't go below 70%. 80 to 90% is the most typical range that we've seen for people procuring complex goods. We advocate to have very well-defined criteria and sub-criteria. Certainly not too many criteria and sub-criteria. So main criteria shouldn't be like more than 5 critical areas, similar to sub-criteria, to avoid having this tiny little scoring systems that tend to look like small pass-fail criteria. Then reducing the criteria by assigning points for quality and other aspects to avoid potential abuse. If you have looked at the FIDIC procurement guideline, if you look at the FIDIC procurement guideline, it talks about rated criteria based on certain adjectives. You know, when looking at technical aspects, you indicate things like, sorry, colleagues, just a minute, I need to. Sorry for that. Okay, so I was mentioning that if you look at the FIDIC guideline, they have a mechanism where they have certain adjectives that describe the proportion of approaches to how to address the issue of weighting. So, for instance, you'd have a proposal where the technical aspect is rated as excellent, and that is assigned a weight like 80%. Good, a rate of 70%. Fair or poor, a weight of 50 to below 50%. So using that kind of mechanism gives evaluators a guideline as to how they should be able to provide description of what they are observing in the evaluated bids, and so to try and give a sort to reduce the level of subjectivity in the application of the weighted criteria. For AFDB, we still do not have a mechanism like that, but we are currently, this year, we are reviewing our policy, and we believe that some of the observations that we should be able to get will enable us to refine more on these qualitative aspects in the future development of guidelines. So in conclusion then, what we are saying is that the rated criteria, and especially the most economic advantageous tender, tries to ensure that procurement balances issues of cost as well as quality when carrying out evaluation. We are, at the end of the day, trying to maximize value for money by considering other non-price aspects in the bid evaluation. And when coming up with weights that are fair or competitive, we must take into account the nature of procurement that we are doing, whether it's goods or works or services. We need to assign weights that are appropriate to the nature of procurement that we are doing.